The Rock wants Cody Rhodes to be his champion. Should Cody take him up on that offer? And final predictions for the men's and women's Elimination Chamber matches in Toronto. It's time to roll around the ring. Friday night on SmackDown saw the return of the final boss, The Rock, in New Orleans. And look, watching a Rock promo over the last couple years, it's like watching the movie Split. It's multiple personalities coming at you. He's in character, he's out of character. He's a heel, he's a babyface. He's singing with the crowd, he's insulting the crowd. It's almost emotionally confusing. I don't know if I'm supposed to cheer for him, if I'm supposed to boo him. I don't know how to feel. The Rock had a lot of fun last year when it comes to, peeling back the curtain a little bit, in and out of character, and that's great. But now he can just continues to do it. It's kind of lost its pizzazz, its special feel. At this point, it's like, okay, just stay in character, tell the story you're here to tell, and let's move forward. So, but it's The Rock, so I get, we let him get away with it. The whole point of him being there was, first off, to announce that WrestleMania 42 next year will be in New Orleans, and that crowd loved it, but that feels like a little bit of a letdown. Third time in just over a decade that they're getting a WrestleMania, the same year that Royal Rumble's in Saudi Arabia. They've done a nice job over the last few years to get WrestleMania into cities they haven't been to in a while. So now they're back to All Reliable next year. Good on them. The whole other point was to call out Cody Rhodes. And no, not to challenge him. They hinted at that after last year's WrestleMania and him wanting that title. He still wants that title, but now he wants Cody to be his champion. He'll take care of him. He'll take care of his family. And I know the obvious route here that people are expecting is at Elimination Chamber, Cody Rhodes lays out The Rock and sets up whatever match, Cody versus Rock, maybe involving the winner of the Elimination Chamber, for WrestleMania. And I would not be surprised if they ended up going that route. They've hinted at that enough, but I feel like there's a more smooth, intriguing build with Cody actually giving in to this deal with The Rock. And I don't know that he does it as soon as Elimination Chamber. I could expect him to make The Rock wait for his answer. Maybe he pull one over on us and Cody tells him no at the Chamber and then goes back on that, at some point between the Chamber and WrestleMania or at WrestleMania. Because I'm picturing a world where CM Punk wins the Elimination Chamber and we get CM Punk versus Cody Rhodes one-on-one for WrestleMania. They've hinted at that the last 2 years with their promos leading into the Royal Rumble events. And we know the history CM Punk has with The Rock and the similar history he has with Cody Rhodes. It gets CM Punk his main event spot on a WrestleMania card that we know he deserves. It's the two biggest faces in the company right now. And then I'm envisioning WrestleMania 17, way back in 2001, when Stone Cold Steve Austin, the face of the company for years, turns heel, joins the boss at the time, Vince McMahon, and lays out none other than The Rock. So why not have The Rock give us a similar style finish to this year's WrestleMania, where Cody Rhodes turns heel and has The Rock help him take out CM Punk, and Cody Rhodes becomes the golden boy with the boss in his corner. I mean, they're playing the role on screen that The Rock has so much power, right? He pulled Cody Rhodes out of that 6-man tag, and Nick Aldis even said, look, it's out of my control. It's orders from the final boss. So that power struggle between The Rock and Triple H, with now Cody Rhodes involved, which we saw some of that leading into last year's WrestleMania, that story could continue to be told with Cody involved leading into this year's WrestleMania and even after. And look, Cody's done a great job becoming the face of the company, basically this era's John Cena. And again, great at it. But those who have followed his career know that he's a heel at heart, and he plays that so damn well. He's just never done it at this level in WWE. And because he's become such a great babyface, such a great face of the company in WWE, I think it's the perfect opportunity to do it, and would be that much more impactful for him to turn heel. And you also got to remember, The Rock is technically heel, but he's still The Rock. He's still as big of a star as he is, so people still deep down love him and respect him. And then you could expect the same type of star response for Cody Rhodes if he was paired up with The Rock. And again, CM Punk is the perfect guy to do this with, because he, with Cody Rhodes, the biggest babyface in the company right now, who has a history with both of these guys. And look, The Rock mentioned after SmackDown at the press conference that he had Not everything needs to culminate in a match. And I agree with that, specifically in this instance, because I have never found myself clamoring to see Cody Rhodes versus The Rock one-on-one. Cody versus Roman needed to happen twice for Cody to get his moment. The Rock and Roman, I agree, still needs to happen. But I never really needed to see Cody versus The Rock. And I think this is the perfect, intriguing way to avoid that this year at WrestleMania. Let's look at the men's Elimination Chamber match. And even before everything that happened between Cody Rhodes and The Rock on SmackDown, I thought CM Punk was the way to go. And that is my final prediction for this match. Seth Rollins got in with a win over Finn Balor on Raw. And if you just look up and down, especially with the Cody Rock thing factored in, it adds to my CM Punk pick. John Cena is probably the only other participant in this Elimination Chamber that makes sense for this story, because he also has a history with The Rock. And of course, it would be the old face of the place facing the new face of the place. But that would leave a big question mark for Logan Paul. The only other person Logan Paul has been telling a story with recently is AJ Styles. And AJ Styles seems to be paired up with Braun Breaker. So it seems as if Logan Paul and John Cena could be tied together at WrestleMania, and it could start at the Elimination Chamber with Logan Paul screwing him over. Seth Rollins could be involved with whatever Roman is or isn't doing come WrestleMania. And we've never seen those two on the WrestleMania stage. So I'm good with that. But also, a lot of people are worried about the build for this year's WrestleMania. I'm not there yet. There's still basically 2 months of storytelling to kind of build whatever the final card is going to look like. But I will agree that if you look at the world title matches, as great as Jey Uso getting his moment is going to be, Jey Uso versus Gunther isn't that headline match for a card. Cody Rhodes needs a high profile match for his title, leading the card, main eventing the weekend for WrestleMania. And yes, Cody versus The Rock could be that. But again, the winner of this chamber is going to be at Cody Rhodes, right? I mean, that's the whole stipulation. So getting The Rock involved, that's another reason why Cody turning on The Rock wouldn't really make sense, because now it's even more convoluted to either get a triple threat for that title or forcing the winner of the chamber into the Jey Uso Gunther story for a triple threat. I think you keep it nice and simple. You keep Jey Uso and Gunther. They seem to be telling that story and moving forward with that. And I think you have a Cody Rhodes CM Punk main event match with The Rock whole story, with Cody being his champion looming over. That's the route to go. Punk needs to win this weekend at the chamber. And on the women's Elimination Chamber side, shout out to Roxanne Perez, capping off the field with a win over Raquel Rodriguez on Raw. And at this point, she's on the main roster. They keep mentioning that, oh, from NXT. She has her feud with Bayley, but okay, she broke the record for as long as she was in the Royal Rumble match. And then a month later, she's in the Elimination Chamber match for a shot at the world title at WrestleMania. She's officially on the main roster, and she has more than earned a spot on the WrestleMania card. I do not have her winning this match, but I would have that Roxanne Perez-Bayley match on WrestleMania, not on TakeOver. I'd rather see Bayley on the WrestleMania card as well. They continue to build her stock as a celebrity. She was involved in the NBA Celebrity All-Star Game. I wouldn't want to see her on TakeOver. I'd rather see her on the WrestleMania card. In terms of the Elimination Chamber match, Bianca Belair continues to be the only one that makes sense for a WrestleMania match with Rhea Ripley that we haven't seen before. Of course, we've seen Liv Morgan, but also Liv Morgan and Alexa Bliss could tell a great story leading in to WrestleMania, potentially with the Wyatt Six involved in the Judgment Day. I would go that route with those two. And Bianca and Rhea, we've never seen it on this stage. Now, the biggest question mark with that is the Jade Cargill story, because they have started to tell that story again. And I don't know that we rushed that for WrestleMania. I think you keep that for a post-WrestleMania surprise. We all know the Raw and SmackDown after WrestleMania brings plenty of surprises. I would have a Jade Cargill return be part of that, and the reveal that Bianca took out Jade Cargill. And if Bianca does defeat Rhea Ripley, you can have a Bianca Jade feud leading into the summer for the title. And even if the title is not involved, title or non-title, I think Jade Cargill comes back after WrestleMania, starts a feud with Bianca that could lead all the way to the 2-night SummerSlam that we have coming up in August. And we knew the Sami Zayn-Kevin Owens match was taking place at the Elimination Chamber, but they added the unsanctioned stipulation this week. Sami Zayn, Adam Pearce, a great promo on Raw to set that up. And I love this specifically for Sami Zayn because when this match got announced, I thought there's no way Kevin Owens can lose this. He lost basically 3 times to Cody Rhodes. He deserves a win on the run that he's on, especially leading up to a potential match with a returning Randy Orton. Orton could return at the Chamber, but I would expect Kevin Owens to get this win. That being said, that would leave Sami Zayn kind of up in the air when it comes to what he does at WrestleMania and looking strong. But now that you have this unsanctioned stipulation, Kevin Owens seems to be on his Mick Foley run. We saw what he did in the ladder match at the Royal Rumble, and this match could be just as crazy, right? I expect him to go all out in Toronto, the Rogers Center, unsanctioned, anything goes, basically. I love that. And I love that for Sami Zayn in the sense of this match could be as brutal, vicious, crazy as it can be. KO can get the win, and yet Sami Zayn continues to look dangerous, continues to look strong, leading into whatever he does come WrestleMania. So this unsanctioned stipulation really does save Sami Zayn and can make Kevin Owens look even stronger, leading into a potential match with Randy Orton come WrestleMania. And quickly on Raw, Dakota Kai will be getting a rematch with Lyra Valkyria for the Intercontinental title. And I'll never complain about Dakota Kai getting involved in the title picture. I'm a huge fan of hers. But the timing of this just doesn't really add up because one of two things could happen here. Either Lyra Valkyria's run ends quickly before really any title defenses, or Dakota Kai takes a second loss in the title picture that quickly. I would have rather seen Lyra continue to tell a story with Ivy Nile, keep the title away from Dakota Kai, because it feels as if Dakota Kai, the next time she challenges for this title, she should win it. She is very over with the crowd, even with the injuries, and she's been in and out. She's found a way to stay relevant with damage control, and the fans still pull for her. So it feels as if the next time she gets this title shot, she should get the win. So I'm hoping to see on Raw Ivy Nile get involved in this match so neither Lyra or Dakota can take the loss. You can continue to tell a story with Lyra and Ivy and keep Dakota away from the title match. And then whoever comes out with the title between Ivy and Lyra, that is who Dakota can defeat in the future. I wouldn't do it this quick. So I'm hoping to see Ivy Nile or someone else get involved so neither Lyra or Dakota can take a loss. And on NXT, it's not Ricky Starks. It's Ricky Saints. The name change confirmed, and it was speculated. If you remember going back to the debut, they never said his name. The crowd did. He never did. If you look at the posts from Triple H, Shawn Michaels on the website, on the YouTube page, it was always just, what a debut. Check out the biggest debut. They never said the debut of Ricky Starks, right? And the name change is confirmed. He's now Ricky Saints. And I feel like a lot of people are still just traumatized from the Vince McMahon era, right before the pandemic, right into the pandemic, when he was changing a bunch of people's names. And it was like, what's their name now? Why? And it made no sense. I don't think it's that drastic here. I wouldn't have done it. Ricky Starks was gifted with a name that kind of rolls off the tongue and it fits his character perfectly. But the meaning is there. He's a New Orleans boy, Saints. Of course, the New Orleans Saints, the Saints moniker and what that means for New Orleans. And he wants to rebrand himself, a new chapter in his career after everything he went through in AEW, a new brand, a new company. So it makes sense. I don't really worry about this too much. I think Ricky Saints is something that can work in the long run. It's weird at first, but go back to when Walter became Gunther. We looked at him like, no, that's Walter. What the hell is this Gunther? And now we look at it like, yeah, that's Gunther. We don't even think about Walter at this point. If you call him Walter at this point, you're just not watching wrestling, and you haven't over the last few years. I think Ricky Saints will be that in the future. Right now, it's weird. I wouldn't have done it, but I don't think it's as drastic as the other name changes that we've had in WWE over the past 5 to 10 years. And how about the WWE and TNA deal continuing to deliver on NXT? Moose showing up this week. And then this upcoming week, the Hardy Boyz, Jeff and Matt, will be back on WWE TV, but on NXT. And this is what we loved about the WWE TNA deal, the crossovers, especially when titles are involved. It's always so awesome to watch, and it gives a lot more eyes to two products that are a little bit lower, right? NXT still looked at as the minor leagues of WWE, and it just gives more hype around these brands. And a lot of people are wondering why the Hardy Boyz wouldn't be back on the main roster. It makes sense. The connection is mainly between NXT and TNA. These are the two brands that would benefit it. I don't know that anybody from TNA showing up on Raw or SmackDown is going to benefit Raw or SmackDown more than Raw and SmackDown's already being benefited, right? We're focusing on NXT here. The Hardy Boyz are TNA Tag Team Champions, and they're the Hardy Boyz. So exactly what they're doing for TNA, they're doing it for NXT this upcoming week. And I know there's a lot of talk around the Moose show up and the overreaction to the Moose show up. And I agree, Moose is not that guy. But in terms of the reaction, again, it's less about Moose and more about the crossover. When you see guys crossing the line, especially with WWE, which for years and years we thought would never, ever happen under Vince, of course. Triple H a lot more open to it. So to see guys cross the line, especially holding another company's title, no matter who it is, yes, Moose is not that guy. It's still freaking awesome. And you love this for NXT and TNA. This deal continues to deliver. Over in AEW, a couple things real quick. The MJF-Adam Page match confirmed for Revolution. And I absolutely love the face-off they had to open up Dynamite. It was a great promo back and forth, and I talked about MJF and the cheap little shots that he takes and the regression in his character. Adam Page is the perfect guy to test him because Adam Page has the low-hanging fruit, right? And he's staying away from it so far. You know, the story is being a little deeper with the Christopher Daniels situation. I love that all being implemented for MJF. I love this for MJF. He's staying away from the low-hanging fruit and actually telling a story with Adam Page. MJF 100% needs this win. Adam Page continues to be the disgruntled guy that, you know, doesn't fully know who he is. And I'll admit that feels a little repetitive in terms of who are you really? What is your point? Whatever. And it felt like he answered that with that Swerve Strickland feud that he had this past year. But overall, this is a great story. They'll put on a great match, but this is specifically for MJF. MJF was that guy in AEW. He has not been treated like that guy in AEW for the past 6 months or so. And he needs to win this feud and just elevate him into the world title picture moving forward. This feud is 100% about MJF, and so far, so good. And lastly, we're getting another tournament style feel that doesn't really make much sense in AEW, the International Title Series. And the biggest question mark I have here is, if Konosuke Takeshita is your champion, why is Kenny Omega the final boss of this tournament? Why is everybody going through these matches to get to Kenny Omega when the point of this tournament is the title? I thought they had something great when they announced Takeshita one-on-one with Kenny Omega at Revolution. Great match. Roll with it. Why we had to implement Orange Cassidy of all people, who, again, they continued to try to push at the top of every title picture, and he's just not that guy to me. And even outside of that, this isn't about him. This is about leading to a Kenny Omega Konosuke Takeshita match. They've been telling a great story with the Don Callis family and Fletcher and Ospreay leading into their match as well at Revolution. So the story was already there. The challenge was already there from Kenny Omega. Let's just have the match. Why we had this random tournament that's obviously should lead to an Omega Takeshita match, and why Kenny Omega is the final boss for a title that he doesn't even hold makes absolutely no sense. So yes, Orange Cassidy beats Roderick Strong. Why those two are even involved is beyond me. Takeshita should beat Orange Cassidy on Dynamite and set up his match with Kenny Omega. We didn't need to go through all this to get to that match. That story has already been told. That match tells itself. That match sells itself. And that match could have just happened without whatever you want to call this tournament. It's very similar to the Continental Classic when you had the champion, Okada, going through the entire tournament when he's already the champion. These tournaments just continue not to make sense in AEW. This is the latest example of it. In the end, we'll be happy because we're going to get to the Takeshita Omega match at Revolution, and that's great. But I'm not sure why we had to implement everything else. Roar Around the Ring is available every week. Find us on YouTube at Roar Around the Ring. I'm Justin Valentine. We'll talk to you guys very soon.